The chains around Cade Ashford's wrists were ceremonial, ornate, heavy, and completely unnecessary. He wasn't going anywhere. The arena guards had made that abundantly clear when they dragged him from his holding cell and marched him through corridors lined with the mounted heads of previous entertainment. Now he stood in the center of the hunting grounds, a massive circular arena with sand the color of dried blood and walls that rose 50 feet high. Above him, the viewing galleries were packed with thousands of aliens from dozens of species, all waiting for the show to begin. And at the very top, in a box that dominated the north wall like a crown, sat the queen of the apex throne. Even from this distance, Cade could feel her presence. Empress Velshara knows Carthax was legendary even among human intelligence circles, a ruler so dangerous that 3 neighboring empires paid tribute rather than risk her wrath. She was tall even by her species' standards, her scaled skin shifting between deep emerald and midnight black. Her eyes were pure silver, reflective and unreadable, and the crown fused to her skull was made from the bones of the last person who'd challenged her authority. "Human," the announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "You have been found guilty of trespassing in imperial space. Your sentence, trial by apex. Should you survive 3 challenges, you will be granted freedom. Should you fail..." The voice dropped to a sadistic purr. "Well, the apex hunters have not been fed in 5 days." The crowd roared its approval. Cade looked around the arena, taking in the gates of release, massive doors set into the walls at cardinal points, behind which he could hear things moving, growling, anticipating. A younger man might have panicked. A smarter man might have begged. Cade just sighed and looked up at the queen's box. "So let me get this straight," he called out, his voice carrying in the sudden quiet. "I took a wrong turn at the Kepler belt, ended up in your space by accident, and your justice system's response is fight hungry monsters or die." The announcer seemed taken aback. You dare address the Empress directly? I'm already scheduled to be eaten. What you gonna do, kill me harder?" Cade turned in a slow circle, making sure his voice reached every corner of the arena. "I just want to make sure I understand the rules before I file my complaint with the Intergalactic Better Business Bureau." Dead silence. Then, from the Queen's box, a sound that made the entire arena freeze. Laughter. Not polite amusement, not a cruel chuckle. Real laughter, rich and genuine and utterly unexpected. Empress Velshara was actually laughing, one clawed hand gripping the arm of her throne as if she needed the support. "Better Business Bureau," she repeated, her voice carrying effortlessly across the arena. "Oh, human, you have seconds to live and you're threatening bureaucratic action. That is either the bravest or stupidest thing I've heard in a decade." "Why not both?" Cade grinned up at her. "I'm a multitasker." The Queen laughed again, and this time something shifted in the arena. Cade felt it, a change in the atmosphere like a storm rolling in. The crowd's bloodthirsty cheering had gone silent. The guards along the walls had gone rigid, and in the holding pens behind the gates of release the growling had stopped. Velshara stood, and the entire arena seemed to hold its breath. She was magnificent and terrible, her presence filling the space like a physical force. When she spoke, her voice carried absolute authority. "Release the first challenge. Let us see if this human's courage extends beyond his wit." The eastern gate ground open. What emerged made Cade's survival instinct scream. The Rakshar Huntmaster was 12 feet of muscle, scales, and razor-sharp killing intent. It moved on 4 legs but could rear up on 2, and its multiple eyes tracked everything simultaneously. Intelligence reports said they could take down a combat mech bare-handed. Intelligence reports might have been underselling it. The Huntmaster entered the arena, scanned the space with those too many eyes, and locked onto Cade. Then it stopped. The crowd murmured in confusion. The Huntmaster should have charged immediately. They were apex predators driven by instinct and hunger. But this one just stood there, head tilted, studying Cade like he was a puzzle that didn't make sense. "Fight!" the announcer commanded. "Huntmaster, engage the prisoner." The Rakshur didn't move. Its eyes kept flicking between Cade and the Queen's box, between the human and the ruler who'd laughed at his words, between prey and something else. Cade kept his stance relaxed, non-threatening. He dealt with predators before. Earth had plenty, and the principle was the same. Show fear and you became prey. Show aggression and you became a threat to eliminate. But show calm, that made you unpredictable, dangerous in ways that couldn't be easily categorized. "What's wrong, big guy?" Cade asked quietly. "Not hungry anymore?" The Huntmaster's tail lashed once, then it turned and walked back toward the gate. The crowd erupted in shocked exclamations. "Unacceptable!" The announcer's voice cracked with panic. "Release the second challenge, the Velkorian Death Dancer." The southern gate opened. The creature that slithered out was serpentine and massive, with blade-like appendages along its body that could fillet a tank. Its species was known for 2 things: perfect lethality and absolute fearlessness. It crossed half the arena before it, too, stopped. The Death Dancer rose up, swaying, its sensory organs extended toward Cade. Then it did something no one had ever recorded a Velkorian doing in an arena. It retreated. Not quickly, not in fear, but with the careful deliberation of a predator that had just recognized another predator higher up the food chain. The crowd was on its feet now, not cheering but shouting in confusion and anger. This wasn't how the hunting grounds worked. Apex hunters didn't retreat. They didn't refuse challenges. They certainly didn't back away from a single unarmed human. Cade stood in the center of the blood sand, chains still on his wrists, and watched 2 of the deadliest creatures in known space refuse to fight him. "This is unprecedented." The announcer was barely maintaining composure. "The final challenge, release the Nightshade Ripper." The northern gate slammed open, and what emerged made the other 2 predators look tame. The Nightshade Ripper was the arena's grand champion, undefeated in 47 kills, banned from 6 star systems for being too dangerous to contain. It was all shadow and teeth and hunger given form. It charged immediately, closing the distance to Cade in seconds. Then it caught his scent. The Ripper skidded to a halt so abruptly it threw up a wave of sand. Its head snapped up toward the Queen's box, then back to Cade. Its whole body language changed from attack to confusion, wariness, recognition. It circled Cade once, staying well outside striking range, then released a sound somewhere between a growl and a whine. Then it, too, retreated to its gate. The arena exploded. The crowd wasn't confused anymore, they were furious. They'd paid for blood, for entertainment, for the spectacle of watching predators tear apart helpless prey. Instead, they'd watched 3 apex hunters refuse to engage a single human. Some were already demanding refunds. Others were calling for the predators to be destroyed. Still others were shouting for Cade's execution by other means. But Cade wasn't watching the crowd. He was watching the Queen. Velshara stood at the edge of her box, silver eyes fixed on him with laser intensity. She raised one clawed hand, and silence fell like a guillotine blade. "Clear the arena," she commanded. "Guards, trainers, handlers, everyone out. Now!" The arena personnel scrambled to obey. Within minutes, the holding pens were emptied, the gates sealed, and every living being except Cade and the Queen had been removed from the hunting grounds. The crowd was still there, watching from above, but the fighting floor was empty. Velshara descended from her box. Not downstairs, but directly, she simply dropped 50 feet and landed in a crouch that barely disturbed the sand. When she stood to her full height, Cade had to tilt his head back to meet her eyes. "Explain," she said simply. "Explain what, Your Majesty. Why my apex predators, creatures bred and trained to kill without hesitation, refused to fight you. Why they treated you like a threat instead of prey. Why they recognized something in you that made them back down." She circled him slowly, and Cade fought every instinct that screamed at him to turn and track her movement. "You're unarmed, untrained in our combat styles. By every measure, you should be dead 3 times over. So explain to me, Cade Ashford, why you're still breathing. You know my name. I know everything about you, former Earth military, survival specialist. Discharged after the Titan Station incident, classified, but I have excellent intelligence." She stopped in front of him, close enough that he could see his own reflection in those silver eyes. "You were alone on that station for 8 months. No food, no water, no communication, surrounded by things that wanted you dead. And when rescue finally arrived, they found you alive, and every hostile creature within 5 kilometers dead." Cade kept his expression neutral. "Survival's what I do." "No." Velshara's voice dropped to something almost conversational. "Survival is running, hiding, outlasting. What you did was hunt. You turned the hunters into prey. You adapted, learned, and dominated an environment designed to kill you. And somewhere in those 8 months, you became something else, something that predators recognize instinctively." She gestured at the empty arena. "My hunters didn't refuse you out of cowardice. They refused you because they sensed what you are, another apex predator. One that doesn't advertise, doesn't threaten, but absolutely will kill if pushed. They saw it, I saw it. The moment you made me laugh, you weren't a prisoner anymore. You were an equal playing by different rules." "Is that what I am to you?" Cade asked quietly. "An equal. You're an anomaly, a human who survived impossible odds and came out harder for it. A threat my own champions won't fight, a variable I can't predict or control." Her lips curled into something that might have been a smile. "I find that intriguing." The crowd above was getting restless again. Cade could hear them demanding action, blood, some kind of resolution to the spectacle that had gone so wrong. Velshara heard them too. "They want a show. They want to see you broken, humiliated, destroyed. They paid for entertainment, and I am obligated to provide it." She paused. "But I'm also obligated to recognize strength when I see it, to value assets that could serve my empire, to not waste potential out of tradition." "What are you offering?" "A choice. I can give them what they want, throw you to a firing squad, make an example of you, prove that no one mocks the apex throne and lives. You'll die, the crowd will be satisfied, and I'll have eliminated a potential problem." Her eyes glittered. "Or you can accept a different sentence, service, training, a position among my apex guard as proof that humans can be more than prey. You'll live, but you'll belong to me, every mission, every assignment, every moment until I decide otherwise. That's called slavery where I come from. Where I come from, it's called survival. You stay alive. You get access to resources, training, technology beyond anything Earth has developed. You become more than what you are, and in return, you serve someone who understands exactly what you're capable of. She leaned closer. The alternative is death. Not because I want it, but because I can't have an unknown predator wandering the galaxy with knowledge of my empire. You're too dangerous to release and too valuable to waste. Cade looked up at the thousands of aliens watching from above. He could see it in their faces, the hunger for violence, the disappointment, the rage at being denied their spectacle. If he refused, Velshara would have to kill him to maintain her authority. If he accepted, he'd be bound to an alien empire serving a queen who was probably even more dangerous than she appeared. But he'd be alive, and alive meant opportunities. One condition, he said. Velshara's eyebrow ridge rose. You're negotiating. You said I'm an apex predator. Predators don't submit, they ally. So if I'm joining your apex guard, I'm not doing it as property. I'm doing it as a soldier, with rank, autonomy, and the right to refuse orders that violate my core principles. The arena had gone silent again, every being leaning forward to hear the Queen's response. Velshara studied him for a long moment. Then she threw her head back and laughed, that same genuine sound that had changed everything minutes ago. You survived 8 months on Titan Station. You made 3 apex hunters refuse to fight you. You negotiated terms while standing in chains scheduled for execution. She reached out and with one claw shattered the ceremonial chains like they were made of glass. Very well, Cade Ashford. You'll join my apex guard with the rank of Huntmaster, the same rank as those predators who recognized what you are. You'll have autonomy within my command structure and the right to refuse orders you deem dishonorable. In return, you'll serve with the same intensity you brought to surviving Titan Station. She extended her hand, not for him to shake, but palm up, the traditional gesture of alliance among her people. Cade placed his hand over hers, human flesh against scaled alien skin. I serve, he said. Then rise, Huntmaster. Velshara's voice boomed across the arena. People of the Apex Throne, I present Cade Ashford, first human to earn rank among my Apex Guard. He will be trained, equipped, and deployed as proof that strength transcends species. Any who challenge him challenge me. The crowd's response was mixed. Some cheered, others jeered, but no one dared protest openly. As guards approached to escort Cade from the arena, one of the trainers leaned close. You realize what you've done, don't you? The predators who refused you, they're going to be humiliated when word spreads. They'll want to restore their honor. Let me guess, Cade said. They'll try to hunt me outside the arena. No rules, no witnesses. Exactly. Cade looked back at Velshara, who was watching him with those reflective silver eyes. Good. I've been prey long enough. Time to remind them why apex predators shouldn't hunt humans. The trainer's expression shifted to something like respect. You really are crazy. No, Cade said, following the guards toward his new life. I'm just really good at surviving, and I've got 8 months of practice turning hunters into prey. Behind him, in the shadows of the holding pens, 3 apex predators watched the human leave. They had refused him once out of instinct. Next time, Cade knew they'd come for him out of pride. And he'd be ready.